Hello everyone, George here, back at you. In this video, I'll be talking about my experience working on Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman, which is my jumping off point, meeting Jason Reitman, which was the first step I had to take in order for me to work on this movie, was have a one-on-one meeting with Jason Reitman, which I think you can understand and imagine that I was very giddy about this and honestly nervous about this experience. This was my first time having a meeting with someone in order to get a part in a movie or any film project that I've been involved in. Usually I just sign up and boom, bada bing, I'm in. But this one, I actually had to do a meeting, and not only did I do a meeting, I had to do a meeting with a big time Hollywood director, Jason Reitman, which, if you're not familiar with his work, he directed such films as Up in the Air, which was nominated for Best Picture back in the day, same with Juno, and he directed lately Ghostbusters Afterlife, because his father was Ivan Reitman, the original director of Ghostbusters and many great comedies back in the 80s. So that was a big daunting thing for me, but regardless, I was more excited than nervous to get to meet him. So for this, I dressed to the nines. I had my three-piece suit on. I had my Stacy Adam white boots that I polished. I picked out my hair. I had all my products on. I was excited for this. And plus, I got to go back to Trilith Studio, which if you saw my last video that I did for my experience working in Back in Action, I talked about how I got to go to Trilith for the first time and how I've always been dreaming about going to Trilith Studios. So now it was cool to, just a few months later, I got to go back there for another film project. So dreams were coming true for George back in 2024. So yeah, the meeting was in Trilith, in some kind of still being constructed office building. I was like in a very back lot of the studio. But yeah, I got to meet with him. There was a lot of us there, a lot of extras. So I had to wait not too long. I was kind of in the middle of the waiting line, but still I had to wait quite a bit, and our nerves were going up even more and more. But again, I was still more excited about it than anything. And along with that waiting, I actually kind of made a friend that, while waiting. This dude named Nate. We're around the same age, I assume, and we were just talking about the songs that they were playing. We were associating them with each movie that we thought that they were in and whatnot, so that was cool. And they were just kind of mingling with the people in there in general. There was some ladies I remember I met that were in Stranger Things. Talking about how I was trying to get in that, but I think because I looked too old, I wasn't able to get in that. I don't know. But yeah, it was a cool experience. Then it was my turn to get to talk to him. And I talked about how I just worked in the Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz movie Back in Action. And I was from Middle Tennessee, around Nashville. And he was talking about how he likes Nashville. So it was cool. We had something bounced off with that. And he was dressed really cool and hip. He had a cool Hawaiian shirt on. He has this nice gray head of hair, and he was just very fun to meet. He was when I told him about being in the Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz movies, he joked about how I was cheating on the casting director. But I was like, man, I just got to go where the money is. So, but no, it was very short and sweet. But I think that meeting was very impactful because eventually I got casted as a band member of the SNL house band. So I wasn't just some average, audience member. I actually got a pretty meaty extra role from what I thought. Talk more later on that. So then after that, I got fitted for a costume, and that meant I had to go back to Trilith, and I tried on a bunch of clothes. It was not a super long experience. We probably spent about 4 to 5 hours trying on clothes, maybe even less, to be honest. And the wardrobe people were very nice. They were younger, hip people similar to my age. And yeah, I just tried on like a bunch of 70s looking clothes, a bunch of t-shirts, some denim jackets. I had a Canadian tuxedo, as they call it. Kind of made me look like Tommy Chong because I also had a headband. Tried on some tight corduroy pants. And, just a bunch of old shoes and whatnot. But oddly enough, though, I don't think any of the clothes I tried on ended up being the clothes that I wore. Because eventually I wore this shirt, this kind of African, dashiki looking shirt that was from one of the costume people's dad's own personal shirt, which I thought was, I'm not gonna lie, a little weird, but whatever. Sadly, though, the shirt was kind of small, though. A little too small for me, my belly hanging. But it fit just enough. And luckily, like I said, I played a band member. And not only did I play a band member, I got to play the drummer. So I was sitting down most of the time. And I guess I would just kind of jump onto the filming. Yeah, I got to play the drummer. So a lot of the times when it came to the actual film days, when it came to those in-between shots, which I fucking hate those, to be honest. When it came to the setup of shots, it's like we're just waiting. But luckily, since I had a drum set, I got to play on the drums, and that was really fun. I always wanted to be a drummer, have a drum set. Sadly, my parents never gave that to me. Whatever, no animosity. But with that, it was very fun because they're not fake drums, but they modified it to where it doesn't really make sound. So I can bang in it as much as I want because I had like this just mesh for the drums, so the pig skin, and the cymbals were like kind of glued together. It was not just one cymbal; it was like two cymbals, but glued together. Maybe it was just plastic cymbals, to be honest. And so every time I bang on it, it won't make a sound. So that was very fun to be able to play the drummer. But before I get ahead of myself on the actual filming. Just going in, the whole filming took place in Trilith, so this was also a nice, cool dream come true because I never got to film in Trilith, so I actually got to be in one of those big, classic studio warehouses where they dressed up the set, and in the waiting room, it was just, again, we were just in one of those warehouses, and it was interesting because there was quite a bit of extras. I gotta say, probably at least 100. But since I got to play a band member, I had my own little special section with my other band members, which those people were some of the coolest people I have met. That was probably the coolest. I don't know. I don't want to knock any other projects I did, but those were one of the cooler cast members that I got to work with was in the SNL movie because one of them was actually a rock star. And I met her actually on the fitting. She was an actual rock star. Her name is Ryder, and she's in the band Nashville Pussy. So this was also cool, having a person from Tennessee I got to work with. I don't know if I mentioned it was all in Atlanta as well. This was all being filmed in Atlanta, and so it was cool to have her from Tennessee. And there was actually another dude was from Memphis, and he was a real cool dude, Roman, and it was cool to work with him. And there was this other guy, Justin, I'm saying all the fucking names, who visited the same town that I was from, so we got to talk about that a little bit, and he got a great shot of himself in the movie where he was smoking a joint with the actor that we kind of hang out around the most with, one of the bigger actors that we got to hang out the most with, which was Paul Russ, which I did not know him at all. Actually, that's not true. I didn't know him when I was working on the film, but I did know him because he was in the movie Inglourious Basterds, which I was geeking out super hard about because I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, so I wanted to chew his ear off about that, but I reserved myself from that. But luckily, Justin, he actually did ask questions about Inglourious Basterds. So he brought that up to him again, and he was talking about that, how he wasn't Jewish. Paul Russ isn't Jewish, but he looks Jewish. And I don't want to be mean, but I'm going to be honest here. Paul Russ has a very distinct nose, very poignant nose, to say politely. Impressive nose. This is very. I could not stop staring at his nose. He has a very big nose. There we go. To say it bluntly, he has a big nose. So he has a very Jewish look to him, but he's not Jewish at all. But he just said he lied about that because Quinn was. I remember hear about this as well. Quinn was trying to cast Jewish actors, but sadly they were all being booked up for other movies. I remember Quentin Tarantino said this during Bill Maher's podcast. Because Judd Apatow was also filming a movie, so he took all the Jewish actors. So he had to get, people that aren't Jewish, like Paul Russ, to be part of that movie. And Paul Russ, after filming, I looked into him, and I saw he was part of this Netflix series, one of the earlier Netflix series called Love, which I remember seeing promotions for that a long time ago. But then after, the filming, got to work with him, I checked that out, and it was a pretty good show. It was pretty funny. A lot of comedians in that I recognize. It's a nice show. It's a romance show. So sadly, I'm not too into that. So I hate to say I did give up on the show mid-season 2, but I had a good time watching it regardless. It was very cute and just feel good innocent show. So I recommend that if you're into that genre and whatnot. So yeah, that was probably about encompasses the first day of filming. But then I also got to see, not to cut myself short, but I also did get to see John Baptiste. He was playing, I guess, the guest band for the very first SNL show. Sadly, I do not remember who he was playing. But it was cool to see John Baptiste, which again, I gotta admit, I didn't know who he was beforehand, but then I come to realize that he is a big artist, and he recently just did the national anthem for the Super Bowl, so that was cool. He's making big, and he also did the soundtrack for the Saturday Night movie, and it's a great soundtrack. Really adds to the movie of the tension, with a lot of like Congo drums and whatnot, or just drums in general, and trumpets and horns, and it just adds to the tension of the movie, which is trying to be like non-stop, I forget what they call it, like a long shot, you know what I'm saying, no cuts. The movie was trying to be like where there's no cuts to it. And also with that first day filming, I saw Finn Wolfhard, which I think him famously being in Stranger Things, and he was also in the Ghostbusters Aftermath, so I guess him and Jason Reitman became cool, and he has a small part in this movie, and so it was cool that he made just came into this towards the end of the filming and just said hello to everyone. So it was really cool seeing him, because I'm a big fan of Stranger Things, and he's a tall dude and whatnot, which is people always joked about when it came to the latest season of Stranger Things, how they're supposed to be like still 15, but this dude hit puberty super hard. So cool seeing that. It was cool seeing the other main cast members, because when we were in our holding, they were there as well. Sadly though, I mean I get it, they need their space, but they were separated from us, so we couldn't go to them directly and whatnot. But there was one of them that I was looking at pretty hard, staring at every time he passed by. And this is one actor, I'm sorry to say I don't remember his name, but I've seen him in a bunch of stuff you probably have as well. I know him famously from Silicon Valley. He played this character named Big Head, and he was also in Maron, the show about Mark Maron's life. He played like Mark Maron's nephew, and he's just super funny. He was also in The Last of Us. He was in the very first scene of the first episode of The Last of Us. So I was just staring at him super hard, because I always see him in things, and he's a very funny dude. And there's also a black guy who played Garrett Morrison, and his name is something Morrison as well. But I recognize him from stuff, so I was looking at him pretty hard. But it was just cool, regardless that they were, mixed within with us. They weren't off in a trailer. I saw a clip of Jason Reitman saying this on the guy that played Garrett Morrison. guess the actor that plays Garrett Morrison has a podcast, and he had Jason Reitman on the podcast. He was talking about how, he one of the actors to actually mingle, and thought it was weird if they didn't do that because they're supposed to be tight knit, close. So it was cool they had that camaraderie and whatnot. It was just cool that we got to see him in passing. But sadly, the people that I didn't see were actors like Willem Dafoe, and I think he was on set that day too. But sadly, just did not get to see him at all. Which I wish he said, he just came out and say hello. But I get it. I had this complaint as well with Back in Action, how those big actors don't say anything to the extras. But I get it because they don't have to. That's not part of their contract. They're not a motivational speaker. There's no reason for them to say they're, and they're busy people. So, they don't really got time to do that shit. But I just think about, it just would really make my day if they just came out and said hello to everyone. Same thing with, maybe he wasn't on set this day, so I'm not too mad on him. Is, J.K. Simmons. He's in the movie as well. I didn't get to see him, but I think I'll give him some leeway though. I don't think he was actually on the set, but I think Willem Dafoe definitely was, because the guy that did get seen from the SNL band member, Justin, he said he did get to act with Willem Dafoe, but sadly, I think I'm revealing too much here, but whatever. Willem was messing up his lines, so they took away Justin, thinking that would help. I don't know. I think maybe they cut that whole part, wherever that was. Anywho, before I get myself in too much trouble revealing too much, it was just a fun set, and I'm really glad that I got to be a part of it. I will go a little negative here. My only negative is that I thought I'd get to work with it, be on the set much longer, because initially when I saw the casting for this, it said to be an extra and be able to work every single day. But sadly, that was not the case. When I finally got that final email saying that I only get to work 4 days, I was like, oh man, that really cut me, because I was really hoping to work every single day and make buku money, actually feel like an actual, actor and whatnot, being part of a big production like this. But, that is the truth of our extras. We're not there to be every day. That's for the main people and whatnot. So they got cut down to 4 days. But then it got even slashed down even more to only 2 days. I actually slashed down just to 3 days. But then one time I drove all the way to Atlanta and they didn't need me. So then it got just cut down to 2 days. And that really caught me, because it was a really cool set. And I would love to be a part of it every single day. Even if it meant long hours and having to do long shit. I would have done it. I really want to test myself and push myself into doing something like that. But maybe one day. My opportunity just isn't there yet. But I'm happy about it, because this is the first real big theatrical movie that I got to do. So I'm not gonna let that cut me down. And that'll lead into my review of the actual movie, which is I really enjoyed it. Which is a good thing, because it sucks to be working on a movie and for it to be bad. But this one was actually really good. My friends enjoyed it even more. My dad, I think, also enjoyed it even more. Because I'll be honest, I thought it was really good, but I hate to be negative. I did think it kind of maybe dragged a little bit, but I think maybe that's just because, I'm not of that era, of that time. Because with the movie, there's a bit of a romance story of it with Lauren Michaels and his wife, who I guess he was working with at the time. And you know me, I'm not big on romances, so it's just my fault. Yeah, I don't know, it's not an action movie or nothing, so there's no head explosions and shootouts and whatnot. But for what it was, not being an action movie, it was funny and it was good and it did keep my attention pretty well. And luckily the movie's not uber long, so it didn't have that potential of dragging super hard. Because the movie, like I was saying, is trying to be continuous, one long shot type deal, even though there is cuts in it, so it's not like Birdman in that sense. But it's all takes place 90 minutes before the airing of the first SNL show. So they try to have a continuous of the stress that was going on before prepping that show, which I heard some contradictory things that maybe it wasn't actually as hectic as that movie made it play it out. You know, who knows? I don't know. I haven't really done much research on that. I heard that from like Chevy Chase, which I guess he's been shitting on the movie a little bit. But there was a, you know, like I said, it's about the original cast members, which includes Chevy Chase. And the guy that got to play Chevy Chase was awesome. It was really great. I thought he was a real spot on lookalike as Chevy Chase. Same goes with the John Belushi actor they got for that. I thought he was a really good spot on lookalike. And it was cool seeing them, because I actually got to see them perform. It was my scene that I was in, was actually like the very last few shots of the movie where they're actually starting to begin the show. And with that was the Wolverine skit or sketch. That's all. I think it's sketch. Skit. I think it's skit. And so it was them acting that out. It was actually really funny seeing them perform it, but they had to perform that over and over and over again. They must have done that like 10 times, if not more. And with the Chevy Chase guy, you know, we saw him say, "Welcome live from New York. It's Saturday night." So that was really cool. And I kind of recognized that guy, the guy that played Chevy Chase, because he also played the Riddler in the Gotham TV show. And apparently the guy that played John Belushi is the guy that played Patrick from SpongeBob in the SpongeBob musical, Broadway musical. So that was cool. And the lady that played Laura Michaels' wife, I recognized her from the show Idol. Her name is Rachel something. So, but I don't think I saw her at all. And the same thing with the guy that played Lauren Michael. I didn't see him at all. And I heard some criticism about his performance because people don't believe that he really looked like Lauren Michael at that time. Because that actor, he's younger than me. I think Lauren Michael was like in his 30s at that time. So, but regardless, I thought he did a good job. And I think he got an award, a Golden Globe or something like that, for Best Leading Actor in a Comedy or something. So I thought he did a good job. And speaking of awards, sadly, this movie didn't get nominated for jack shit, which I think that's disappointing. I think it really should have got nominated, at the very least, for like the music and whatnot, costuming, the extras. I should have got nominated. That's what I'm trying to get at. But no, I didn't get nominated for nothing. No Best Picture, nothing. Bullshit. No, I think he deserved it, but whatever. You know, I guess there's more dramatic movies that came out this year. A lot of them I haven't seen. The only one I really gave a shit I saw that's been nominated is The Substance and Dune 2, which I agree with those. But the other ones, I'm like, whatever. I've heard there's this musical movie, Emilia Perez, that people say shouldn't even be nominated at all. I think they should cut that shit out. Stick in Saturday night. But regardless, whatever. Doesn't matter. And sadly, the movie didn't make that much money either. I don't think it was promoted all that well. I'm pretty sure it probably made his money back, but who knows. It was also came out at the same time as Joker 2 and Terrifier. So I think he got overshadowed with those movies. And I feel like the actual Saturday Night Live didn't really do a good enough job of promoting that. I feel like maybe they should have done some crossover where they had the main actors of the movie be hosts Saturday Night Live, for them to mention it. And to say maybe they actually should have hold off on releasing the movie till this month, actually, because this is actually the actual month where we'll have our 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. So maybe they should have held off on that. Who knows? Who the fuck cares? Regardless, I got paid, and I got seen all right in the movie. Not too well, which, you know, I kind of expected. You can't have honest expectations that you're going to be seen in these big production movies where you're just in a crowd. But there's one shot where you can see me kind of blurry from afar. Luckily, my afro was pretty big, so you can make out with that. I look kind of grumpy too, to be honest. Maybe I was tired and shit. I was mad that, fuck, they're filming us. What the fuck? So I can't really make out my face too well, but you can make me out a little bit. And the movie's on Netflix right now, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's, like I said, it's only 90 minutes, and it's very funny, so I think you have a good time. All right, that's all I really got to think about. Anything else I got to say? Let's see, let me check my notes. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the whole production crew and all the people I met on Saturday night. Thank you, Jason Reitman. Thank you to the casting director. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.